From Austin, Texas, it's a great afternoon for some college rugby as we are at the Austin Huns facility. It's going to be a great matchup this afternoon as the Houston Cougars make the trip to Austin to take on the Texas Longhorns. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Sherman, joined as always by the rugby guru Grant Cole. And Grant, whether it's football, baseball, or rugby, whenever Houston and Texas get together, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun, Greg, and it's going to be a lot of head bashing out there on the rugby field today. Thank you for the kind words, Greg. Hey, Houston, Texas, the Cougars coming back from a real hard season right now. 2 losses they've had already. Really took one hard against LSU in their hometown and another one against TCU that they've lost. Texas coming off of 2 losses back-to-back after A&M and then Baylor, and then they've also won a couple as well. It's good to see that they've got that in them, but today they want to get that winning streak back.
Yeah, speaking to Jesse Dominguez, the head coach of Houston earlier this week, he mentioned some of the losses they've had. If you just look at the scores, you'd say they're getting blown out and it's not making much progress, but compared to where they were at a year ago, they're making a lot of progress, and he thinks that this year may be kind of that rebuilding year and try to look forward to next season.
Well, last year, one of the things that didn't work on was defense, and one of the things Jesse focused on this year is defense. He's thinking, hey, if we can keep those guys from scoring as much as they did last year, maybe we can get a little chance to get some possession, put the ball in the end goal a little bit more, and that's working out for him.
Of course, with Texas, no matter what the sport is, it's always bigger in Austin, and the Longhorns thinking, hey, we want to win a conference championship, and that's exactly what their philosophy is this season.
And they've definitely put together a coaching staff this year that knows how to win championships. Peter Malcolm's a USA Eagle. Zach Mizell, been on the Ohio Aviators, professional player. Connolly McKay and Ty Terrazone, their forwards coaches. Those guys have been on the Austin Blacks when they've been to the national finals before. So these guys, they know what it takes to get to that place, so they know how to coach to that. So they've got everything they need to get there. They've got a system in place. It's just a matter of playing to that system consistently.
And briefly, give us maybe one key player on each side of the ball who the fans are going to want to keep their eyes on this afternoon.
Well, if it's me on the Houston side, I'm looking at Matt Torres, number 8, the guy with the hair. You can't miss him. He's going to be everywhere on the field for the Cougars, and he's a real leader. Where he goes and how fast and hard he goes, that's how fast and hard the Cougars go.
I love it when you mention his hair because I wish I could borrow some of his hair because he's got great hair out there.
He does. And then on the side for the Longhorns, Corin Wakefield, the Englishman at the back at fullback at 15. This guy's a silky player, man. He's good under the high ball. He's fearless, and he's a loping runner. When this guy gets going, he's hard to catch because he stretches those legs out, but he's also got the moves like Jagger.
Certainly should be a great matchup this afternoon. We'll get to the keys of the match as well as first kick coming up in just a moment. This is College Rugby here on the 11 Sports Network. Back here in Austin, Texas, and we are underway as the Longhorns with the first kick. And Grant, it's about 79 degrees out here, light winds. It's December 2nd on the calendar, and it does not feel like December 2nd.
No, it does not, Greg.
13, back up, 13!
As we'll get you the lineups as we go throughout the match. Houston in the white uniforms and the blue pants, or the blue shorts, I should say. The Horns in the burnt orange tops with white shorts as the ball goes out on the touch. And again, if you're new to rugby, we appreciate you stopping by, as Grant and I will get you through some of the basic rules throughout the game or the match, depending on your choice of words, and some of the key strategies in the game of rugby.
Enrique Montoya has kicked this ball to touch, giving Texas a line out inside Houston territory. And David Liu is going to throw this ball in for Texas.
Scramble for the ball. Longhorns do come up with it. Again, really, if you're new to rugby, you've never seen it before, the biggest fundamental difference between rugby and football is in rugby, the forward pass is illegal like it was in football back in the day. So certainly this is more of a running sport than you would see a passing sport.
Most definitely it's a running sport. What you saw here was a knock-on. The ball went forward out of a Texas hand in the line-out. That's going to result in a Houston scrum. Houston's got the put-in. It's Dominic Vanderwalt with the put-in for Houston.
We play two 40-minute halves, 80 minutes total. There is there is no extra time except in rare circumstances. Obviously, whoever has most points wins. If we're tied after 80 minutes, it will go as a draw. 4 points if you win the match, 2 points if you draw it, 0 points if you lose, but there are bonus points for close losses as well as if you get a certain amount of tries, which for people that are new, you may think it's a touchdown, but here in rugby, we call it a try.
Call it a try, that's correct. And so one of the things we talk about here is you see the scrum setting up. Referee Green is trying to make sure that they're squared up, that they've got proper space, make sure everything's staying safe ahead of time.
This is kind of like a jump ball, so to speak, in basketball, though the ball doesn't go up in the air. The ball is actually rolled onto the ground. You see the Cougars, again in the white, coming away with it. Number 10 was Patrick Gaffney. Again, it's 15 on 15. There's rugby 15s and rugby 7s. We'll talk a little later on about the differences in strategies. There's little different skill sets based on those two sports. Scott Green is your head referee for this afternoon's match. The assistants are Alex Free and Wendy Young. The fourth official is Sean LeMasters. I'm Greg Sherman, joined by Grant Cole. Near perfect day on the pitch for some rugby. Couldn't ask for really any better conditions.
And we rarely have bad days here in Austin when we come to Huns Field.
This is number 10, Gaffney. Again, you can't throw the ball forward and you can't just fall on it. You have to actually make an attempt to get rid of the ball or pass it. Number 9, Dominic Vanderwalt comes away with the ball for the Cougars. Again, the ball, a little different shape than football. It's similar, but you have more rounded ends versus the pointy ends in football, so you have fewer odd bounces.
Advantage was on there from the knock-on created by the Houston team. Longhorns picked up the ball, so they gained the advantage of the ball play went on.
Let's talk maybe briefly about some of the positions. We hear about for example, one of the key positions is a hooker, and if you're not new to rugby, you may think it's something completely that it shouldn't be, but it's obviously one of the key positions. Maybe.
So we're going to see a scrum here, and the hooker is the two players in the middle with the number 2s on their back. And when the ball is put in by the scrum half, the hooker's job is to hook his leg forward and hook the ball back into his side of the scrum, and that's why they're called the hooker there.
Scott Green, the referee, getting everybody in place. Again, a couple of rookie first-year head coaches, Jesse Dominguez for the Cougars, and for the University of Texas Longhorns, their head coach, again, also in his first year, is Zach Mizell.
Well, Zach may be a first-year coach at college rugby, but he's been coaching. He's been in rugby for a long time. So he started playing at Plano Rugby in Dallas, Texas, when he was young. Went up through Arkansas State, and then has played at Austin Blacks and also up in Ohio with the Aviators.
This is Caballero, number 9, coming away. Can't call it a pigskin necessarily like we do in football, coming away with the ball. Now another battle for the ball on the far side.
A little knock on there by Grant Guthrie. Guthrie was not able to come up with that pass from Warren Wakefield. Nice pass. Guthrie was just not running onto it fast enough, and it's going to be a scrum to Houston here.
Completing the 5th minute of the game, no score so far. We know in soccer there's not much scoring. We know in football anything over 30 is considered a shootout. Anything under 20 is considered a tight game. What is an average score you would see in a regular rugby match?
So it's about the same for rugby as the scoring for football. Anything over 30 can be a shootout. Anything over 50 can be a runaway, just a blowout.
Now, which position is the quarterback for both sides?
So you don't really have a quarterback. The quarterback evolved from the scrum half and the fly half position being melded together. So you know you have a line of scrimmage in football, Greg? So the line of scrimmage, Walter Camp, he wasn't real happy with the scrum. He didn't like that. So he designed an open scrum. And rugby purists at the time called that a scrimmage because it was a sissified scrum to them. Seriously. So that's where you get that from. Instead of
you know, the words rugby and sissified aren't normally something you'd think of because this is a sport which has a lot of contact like football, but as you can see at home for our viewers, there's not much protection equipment. You don't have shoulder pads, knee pads, you don't have a helmet, and there's a lot of contact, but there's also different tackling techniques.
Well, and it's not just the tackling, it's the evasive running. You don't really want to run right at the man. You want to run to space. I mean, that's part of the process is getting to the space. It's like basketball in that effect, in that you're trying to use the ball to create space and trying to get the ball into that space so you can get the ball into the goal. Whereas with football, you're in a positional game. Rugby is a possession game.
And again, we're playing rugby 15. Sometimes you may be familiar with rugby 7s. Rugby 7s is a lot more offensive than you'd see in the 15s for obvious reasons. Fewer players on the field. Talking to Zach Mizell earlier this week, he equated it a lot to six-man football. For those of you that maybe follow six-man football at the high school level here in Texas, in six-man, the scoring is higher, but there's a lot more specialized positions, while in rugby 15s, the scoring is lower, and you have a different kind of specialized positions. Again, scoreless here in the opening minutes of the match. That's Scott Green, our referee.
So Scott's not seeing the amount of space he wants to see between them. He also doesn't like the bind on this side of the scrum by the Houston prop, the Houston tight head prop.
See number 9, Eddie Caballero, closest to your screen. Now he's over on the right side of the scrum, comes away with the ball. Number 10, Daniel Delaney had it. Now a run. Delaney trying for the first points of the game. Again, you have to put the ball in. He is in, but he has to touch it down. There's the try completed. And the first 5 points of the game go to the Longhorns.
And Delaney had a beautiful pass to Robert Hughes there. Robert Hughes had a nice silky line coming in. All the shoulders were already faced out. The Cougar shoulders were already faced out, as we're going to see here in the replay. Here the ball comes out. Delaney right back to the inside, and Hughes right to the inside. He goes steps around the Carlos Ulloa, and all he had to do was go dot center. He's going to give Grant Guthrie an easy kick, or excuse me, David Delaney an easy kick at post for the conversion.
Now here comes the conversion opportunity. It's a 2-point kick.
He has the sticks raised for an extra 2 points, so that's a 7-0 lead for the Longhorns early in the match. And
that was Robert Hughes, I believe, number 13 with the kick. So again, a touchdown in football, you have 6 points for the touchdown, 1 or 2 for the extra point or the 2-point conversion if you want to try it. But in rugby, it is 5 points for a try and then 2 points for the conversion. The key difference, though, in rugby is that between rugby and football is in football, you just have to have the ball break the plane of the goal line in order to score. But in rugby, now you just have to put the ball down and actually touch it.
Yes, it's got to be grounded in goal.
There you see some of the flags again. Not much wind out here. It's actually a very, very nice afternoon as Houston will kick off down 7-0. And we mentioned Houston kind of in a rebuild mode, so to speak. They lost by 60-plus points to LSU earlier this season. Last year, they lost 129-0, and Justin Dominguez talking about how this progress. But the Longhorns, again, with the offense. That's number 5, Nicholas Mears with the ball. Again, forward passing is illegal, so you have to lateral.
There's a knock-on in contact there by Houston, so knock-on advantage is to Houston, Texas there. But there was a side entry at the breakdown by Houston, so penalty to Texas.
Marco Marin, number 1, had possession of the ball. Now here's Delaney, number 10. Ball over to the far side. Then you have to either run it or toss it backwards.
The referee has penalty advantage on for a dangerous tackle right now, so if Texas doesn't score off of this, expect a whistle and a penalty for a dangerous tackle.
Is that kind of like a power play in hockey?
Not a power play, but so Texas had maintained possession there even through the high tackle, and so he was just letting play go on and to see if Texas could make something out of it. Nothing came of it, so dangerous tackle there. He makes the call, brings the penalty back over here.
And that dangerous tackle going above the shoulders?
Well, in this case, not just above the shoulders, but around the neck a little bit.
So again, the Longhorns leading Houston 7-0. This is the Red River Rugby Collegiate Conference, 3 R's, couple of C's in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conference that's split into North and South, just like the old Big 12. The team's made up of schools as far as football, which you'd find in the Big 12, such as Texas, Oklahoma, TCU. You have Houston, who is now in the American Athletic Conference as far as football. You have LSU. I think Arkansas State's in this conference. LSU's in the SEC. Arkansas State in the Sun Belt. Wild scramble on the far side.
So driving ball there off the line out by Texas. It's held up, though, in goal. When the ball goes in goal like that and does not get grounded by the team attacking, it's called held up in goal. They're going to get a scrum 5 meters out from the goal line, and that's what happened here. Scott Green reassembles him here 5 meters out. And Eddie Caballero, Cowboy Eddie as we call him, is going to get another put in.
What's kind of the key to the scrum? Obviously I know you want to get the ball, but what's the key to having a successful scrum as far as the setup?
Well, first you have to have squared shoulders and just a very strong front row and a strong engine room. You want to basically be very tight and very strong there. If you with the new rules, what I like is let's get the ball out quickly. The faster you get it out, the easier it is. So that looks to have been knocked on in goal. And it's going to be a scrum to Houston now.
Syed Rizvi, number 7, came out of the scrum.
Syed Rizvi, very, very physical player. He's a very big guy. And, man, he likes getting out there and making things happen.
Jesse Dominguez himself is a U of H alum. They had to forfeit their game against TCU due to travel issues, again losing to LSU 76-12. Had some growing pains with LSU. They have only 5 veteran starters, and the rest are new guys. And Hurricane Harvey, you've probably obviously heard a lot about with football as far as causing problems. You know, Houston had to scratch their football game against UTSA at the start of the year, but the Cougar rugby team had some sporadic practice schedules because of the field conditions and obviously having to deal with the weather.
Well, their field's in what they call the bowl there, and that bowl is a holding basin of water in times of flooding. So
that's not good. In Houston with the early disadvantage, 7-0, 14th minute. We will again play 2 40-minute halves, 80 minutes total. They will take a break at the first whistle past halfway.
Enrique Montoya with the touch finder. He puts it well into touch. And Montoya is a Cy-Fair Warriors rugby product. He's been playing soccer for almost all his life since he was 3. He's got a heck of a boot on him. But when he found rugby, he really found what he thinks he loves. So I've been watching this kid play for a good 5 years now, and I really like what I see in him.
Well, 7s is a 14-minute game. 15s is 80 minutes. 7, you may say 14 minutes isn't very long, but 7-on-7 in rugby, 14 minutes feels like 80 minutes with nonstop action.
It's 14 minutes of sprint, stop, sprint, stop, sprint, stop. Delaney on a loop there, gets it out to Wakefield.
And the pass on to the near side. This is Quinlan Sweeney trying to get to the goal line. He's going to be close, but he's short. Texas, though, still comes away with the ball. They'll try again. But Brock Scherber, number 6 for Houston, able to prevent, at least temporarily, the score. Horns have dominated possession here in the opening 15 minutes of the game. They already have 1 try and a conversion. Houston really has not had a scoring opportunity so far. This is 2-on-1 the other way for Texas. And into the scoring zone is number 11, Quinlan Sweeney. Still has to touch it down. Is not able to. Actually, he's close to the scoring zone. Again, the goal posts are on the goal line, or the touch line, I should say. They've been very close, and you can tell already, you can see some of the experience difference between Texas and Houston here in the opening few minutes.
So there's advantage was being carried there. Enrique Montoya and Montano had basically tackled it a little too high there when he got on Quinlan Sweeney, and he's being told that he needs to bringing down his tackles. There were 2 high tackles there within the 5-meter zone, and that was close to being a penalty try against Houston. Penalty try is 7 points automatically. You don't even have to try and kick a conversion anymore.
Again, Texas trying to get their 2nd try of the game. Scott Green is right on the line.
Ross McDonald takes the quick tap pass from Eddie Caballero, and he just powers over like the 8-man he is. Great try there from Texas, and they're going to try and get that conversion. Looks like Corin Wakefield is doing the kicking duties today.
Wakefield already with 1 successful. So that'll make it 12-0 Texas with the conversion, I should say, to come. You hear try, you're always thinking of football. Let's take a look at the replay.
Here Caballero just takes a quick tap, gives it straight to McDonald. McDonald just right into it. You know, big 8-man on a little wing. That's not much of a matchup there. It's like a Mack truck running over a Corvette.
Here's Corin Wakefield, number 15. Again, you don't kick just right on the right where the middle of the goalpost would be in football. You're kicking from a position that is parallel, that is perpendicular to the offensive line. This conversion is good. It's 14-0. Greg Sherman joined by Grant Cole. Grant, let's talk maybe about what we've seen now with these conversion kicks. Again, we're used to seeing in football where you'll line up pretty much in the center of the field for a kick, but not the same here in rugby.
So yeah, where you put the where you ground the ball at is where you bring the conversion kick out in rugby. So you want to get it as close to the center as possible. But you know, if you think you got to get the 5 points, it's almost more important than trying to get the extra 2 points, unless you know you're behind and you need those extra 2 points. So it's a strategy thing there. You definitely want to try and get the extra 2 points, but when you got a kicker like Corin Wakefield, you probably don't need to worry about where you're putting the ball down at.
We know whether it's soccer, football, or rugby, if you've got a really strong kicker and a really good kicker, you have a very strong chance of winning a game. Come up on the end of the 18th minute. Houston really has not had a possession or any possession time on Texas' side of the field. I'd say about 95% of the play so far has been on Houston's side, with a little bit here at the midfield.
And as soon as you say that,
hey, I'm trying to encourage we can get a closer game and see if Houston can get going.
Now there's Matt Torres carrying the ball with that hair. He's definitely somebody to watch, and he got some positive meters for Houston.
Austin Puckett, number 13, had the ball down on the far side.
So referee Green says that there was hands in the ruck at the bottom, and that means that there was a Longhorn on the deck using his hands when he shouldn't have been. Once you're off the deck, you can't reach for that ball once the ruck's formed.
This is the farthest Houston's gotten down the field so far in the opening part of the match.
Offsides advantage is on for Houston, and they are within kicking range for Enrique Montoya if they want 3 points.
And again, Houston right now could use any points to just try to get on the scoreboard. Flip over to number 2. This is Ben Henrods.
Yeah, unfortunately, Vanderwalt wasn't paying attention to the ball there when he kicked it to take the tap, and he lost it forward in the tap, and that's going to be a scrum to Texas Longhorns. Those kind of mental errors, you just can't be, when you're down 14-0 early in the game, you just can't be making those kind of mental errors that early.
Now, I'm noticing that when you have a player kicking, he's not just kind of kicking in the air. He's almost doing like a little kick up in the air, maybe about a foot or two.
It's called a tap, and that's all he's doing. He's got to put the foot to the ball and to restart the play.
Coming up on the 20th minute of the match, again, the first whistle we have past the 20-minute mark, players will get a quick break, as the players will hit the deck. Again, rugby has a lot of action. It's not like soccer where you have only 10 minutes of action and 80 minutes of just kind of passing around. In rugby, it's pure action for almost the entire 80 minutes. Texas with the lead 14-0. There is a whistle, and that should be our...
So one thing you'll see, Greg, is that they're not going to be stopping the play at a penalty. They'll stop the play on a line out or a scrum.
What kind of penalties will we see? I know we've seen some already. What are some of the other?
So on that one, the tackler wasn't rolling away. You saw Green sweep his arm out towards the offending team, and that's basically his sign that the tackler's not rolling away. And so that's a common one, actually. Sometimes the tackler gets stuck in there once the ruck starts, and it's hard for them to get out. And if they affect the ball's transition out of the ruck, they could get penalized for that. A lot of times they get stuck in there, and maybe they don't affect the ball's transition out of there, and it's just not material to call them on that because they're not affecting play.
They'll set up a line out for Texas. And again, the forward pass is illegal in rugby. That's why you're going to see a lot of laterals and a lot of running. Now battle just inside of Houston's side of the field.
So Texas is doing a great job there. Hughes coming straight up there. Houston has learned to respect Hughes after 2 breaks through the line, so they're definitely coming up to tackle him more. But at the same time, they're not releasing their tackles when they get him down, and that's what they're penalized for on that one.
Daniel Delaney will send it away. Delaney with the first try of the contest. Again, Texas has really dominated possession so far. Houston's had only 1 scoring opportunity here in the first 22 minutes. Again, we mentioned about the different teams that are in the Red River Rugby Collegiate Conference. Teams made up of the SEC, the Big 12, the American Athletic Conference, the Sun Belt. And there is a D1A Rugby National Championship that's held yearly. LSU and Baylor, top teams from the conference a year ago. This conference kind of is like the Big 12 as far as 15s and 7s. As Texas coming up onto the line, they're close. They should be over, very close to that line.
Joe Jankaus with the attempt to ground the ball, knocked it on as he trying to touch it down in goal. Unlucky there by Jankaus.
We'll get a 5-meter scrum coming up.
Jankaus is interesting. He's wearing the number 16 jersey as a blindside flanker, which is usually the number 6. The reason he's wearing the number 16 is because the last time he wore the number 6, they had to cut him out of it. The EMTs had to cut him out of it. So the number 6 jersey is no longer available.
Plus, it's probably bad karma.
Yeah.
Here's the scrum. Cougars come away with it. That's number 12, Enrique Montano.
Enrique Montano showing those silky skills when he with the footwork.
And here's Houston trying to at least get the ball back up to midfield.
Montano finding his favorite target, Devar Gayasi.
Coming up on the 24th minute of our contest, Texas has dominated so far, up 14-0. Montano will flip it back. That's number 13, Austin Puckett. Puckett gets tackled. Now there's the tap to put the ball back in play for the Cougars.
Jankaus very offsides there, and that's what he was penalized for.
See the ball literally right in front of us. That's the first time in the entire match I think we've actually had the ball right in front of our position. See on the bottom of the battle for the ball, that's number 7. That's Syed Rizvi for the Cougars. And again, you can't just hang on to the ball or sit on it. You have to let the ball go. Texas will send it away. Number 15, Carlos Ulloa.
Eddie Caballero testing out his former teammate, Carlos Ulloa there from when they were in high school.
And these are 2 schools that no matter what the sport is, they are very, very big rivals. Of course, what's interesting to note, again, if you're new to rugby, we don't get to see Texas and Texas A&M play each other anymore with A&M going to the SEC. The Lone Star Showdown's kind of disappeared, but not in this conference. They play each other.
Yes, that's correct. And you've got several, you've actually got 3 SEC teams that are SEC schools that are actually in the Red River Conference.
Now, as far as the USA in general, how does the USA rank in the world with rugby, and who are some of the top countries in the world?
Well, your top country in the world, your top 2 countries in the world, of course, England and New Zealand, as far as overall. But and when I say overall, I mean men's, women's, and both codes of the sport. They basically are on top. But South Africa definitely has an iron in that fight on the men's side on the 7s, and then Australia, women's 7s and men's 7s is definitely very, very good.
Mizell, by the way, first year as a head coach for Texas, but he was an assistant at UT helping with their 7s program. Again, you see rugby 7s and rugby 15s. So we're in the 27th minute of the match. Texas dominating on the scoreboard, and really I'd say about 95% of the possession so far has been for the Burnt Orange.
Yeah, and which is exactly what Zach Mizell wants out of his team. He's going to stress a lot of owning possession, maintaining possession, because he knows that possession wins a match. As rugby in any sport, defense is going to keep your opponent from getting in goal, but possession and prolonged possession is going to make sure you have plenty of scoring opportunities, and that's what he's going to do, is make sure his Longhorns maintain that possession or stingy with that ball.
In football, there's defensive scoring such as touchdown, like a pick six or even a safety. Is there any defensive scoring? Is the defense able to score in rugby?
Well, once the defense maintains, gets the possession of the ball, they become the offense. And it's just like in basketball, now you're on offense, right?
I guess maybe as far as if you're the defense and you've got the ball in the end zone, that could you potentially knock the ball out of your own end zone and give up points?
Well, if you do that, then you're giving up a scrum to the other team deep in your possession. You're actually going to be defending that scrum 5 meters off that line.
Mike Jones, number 12, with the ball on the far side. And in for another try for Texas here in the 28th minute.
That's William Wang, the hooker for Texas, showing some opportunity there, seeing the ball at the back of the ruck that Mike Jones presented and just picking it up and diving in for the dot down. He gets another 5 points. Great job there by Wang. Heads up ball by the hooker.
So that'll make it 19-0 with the 2-point conversion to come. Let's take a look at the replay.
Ball here goes over to the side. Jones taking it up, gets tackled. You know, it takes three Cougars to take him down, but once Wang gets up there, he gets the ball. He sees he's real close, and referee's right there on top of it. All he has to do is dive over and dot it down. Wakefield's got a strong angle here, but he's got the wind a little bit against him, so this is going to be a harder kick for him than normal, especially coming off of that left leg.
And again, in rugby, in order to score a try, it's not just the ball breaking the plane, but you have to actually be in control. You have to put the ball down on the ground in order for it to count. The try is up.
And those sticks are up. It's no good there for conversion, so the score right now is 19-0 in favor of the Texas Longhorns here at Austin Huns Field in Austin, Texas.
And we're in East Austin, just a few miles east of downtown, the Bergstrom International Airport. Not too far, we're kind of just past the flight pattern. I'm Greg Sherman. Grant Cole is always my analyst. Grant, the guru of rugby, knows everything about it. He can sit here and tell you every single thing about the world of rugby, and that's always great to hear your pearls of wisdom and your great stories.
Thank you, man. I don't know if I can tell you every single thing, but I've got a few bits in my pocket.
See some of the fans wearing the burnt orange on the far side. Of course, Texas football has completed their regular season. They're going to wait for a bowl announcement, so a chance for some of the fans to be able to get out here. Hopefully you're watching us from home, maybe an opportunity with college football winding down to be able to explore a new sport.
Yeah, and rugby is definitely a sport ready for a new fan base. Major League Rugby's coming. You see these signs over there. Austin Elite definitely coming on with a strong team. They've started their signings announcements, and it's coming out, and you're seeing some good stuff. They're a partner of Red River Rugby Conference, and this game and this location is part of that partnership.
Well, we talk about the bonus points that are available for Texas. Texas needs one more try in order to pick up a bonus for having at least 4 tries scored in the match, and this is going to be try number 4 as Quinlan Sweeney puts the ball down. So that's a 5-point try for Texas, and it also means they're going to pick up a bonus point in the table. That bonus point, I believe, will go into the table.
Quinlan Sweeney very determined to get that try. You could see at 70 meters away from the try line when he picked the ball up from Corin Wakefield down here. You see here, he was very determined that ball was going to go his direction. Here he goes. He's away. He's going to turn back to the inside and dot down at the center. He's going to give Wakefield an easy conversion kick. And just very nice work by the young winger there, running all the way that direction. I tell you what, the sophomore architectural engineer major from Comfort, Texas, really had a nice run there. Some silky moves by him and a lot of speed shown.
Comfort, Texas, home of the Bobcats, not too far from Kerrville. So that try makes it 26-0. Because I think it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good. So it's 26-0. What that also means, that's their 4th try of the game. So now they'll pick up a bonus point in the table.
So regardless, win or lose, they at least get 1 series point out of this game. And that helps him in the table for sure.
And you also can pick up 1 bonus point for losing by 7 points or fewer. It's kind of like the old Continental Basketball Association League, which ran for so long, where you picked up 2 points for a win, but also half a point for winning a quarter.
Yes.
So even if you were getting blown out in the CBA game, if you won the 4th quarter, you could lose by 70 points, but if you won the 4th quarter by 1 point, you at least pick up half a point. And in the world of tables and all that stuff, you don't know where that extra point may come in handy.
So dangerous tackle here by the Longhorns on the Houston in an attempt to gain possession for the restart. Houston with a nice high restart there, gain possession of it. That's something you want to do. You know, like in football, when you have an onside kick, it's really your possession, right? When you kick it. Same thing in rugby. When you kick it, it's your possession. You just have to get up and under that ball properly. You can kick away your possession, but why would you?
All Texas so far. In 2 40-minute halves, they lead at 26-0. Here's Montano trying to get Houston on the board, but he will be stood up by the stiff Longhorn defense.
Montano not showing his silkiest of moves there. He can really move to it. He just doesn't need to use that bulk to try and run over people when he's got the moves to run around them. Really wish he'd show that, because he's got the steps, and he could have moved around and possibly got a try there if he'd used his moves and his fend a little bit better there.
Well, we've mentioned Eddie Caballero's name so far. This is actually his last game. He's getting ready to graduate. Coming up very soon, he's going to be a December graduate from UT. So congratulations to him. And Texas has dominated possession. Houston has had very few chances in the contest so far. Some of the top teams in rugby around the nation: St. Mary's, California Rice, BYU, Linwood, and Arkansas State. Most of those schools you may have heard of for other sports. St. Mary's for basketball, California in softball, sometimes in football. BYU, we've seen them with success in other sports. Linwood, though, maybe that's one of those schools that maybe not a lot of people know a whole lot about.
Well, they're definitely putting a lot of money into sport, but man, Texas really putting Houston under the gun here, making DeVar Gyasi run this ball back after kicking right behind him, using the wind to their advantage. Very smart there by Delaney, the Irishman. He got a little bit of gust, felt it, said, "Hey, let's put them under the gun, see what they've got, see if we can't take advantage of this, getting that ball down the other end of the field," and that's what he did. Relieved a little pressure there for the Longhorns, and now they've got the Cougars under possession.
And this is Rugby 15s here on the 11 Sports Network. You also have a smaller sevens, Rugby sevens, that you'll sometimes see as well. And we're beginning to see rugby kind of being picked up by a lot of the networks. 11 Sports Network, of course, some of the other networks that continue to pick up rugby, and it's helping grow the sport, and it's helping grow the presence here in the United States. And rugby predates football, in fact.
Yes, rugby actually is the father of football. Rugby, we are your father.
Hence they predate. It's not very hard. It's not very easy for the son to predate the father.
And rugby is actually the father of both football and basketball, and soccer are the father of rugby, for that matter.
Well, I guess if we need some filler in the second half, we'll do one of those ancestry things. We'll do a family tree with all the sports. I'm assuming we can get curling in there somewhere.
Oh no, I don't want to do that.
Of course, the Winter Olympics.
Some of the histories of these sports are a little not safe for TV.
Of course, football once upon a time was actually illegal back about 90 years ago. Well, the Winter Olympics getting ready to start in just a few months. We'll have a great feature on a Paralympian coming up at halftime. It's hard to talk about the Winter Olympics when it's 80 degrees on December 2nd.
Wakefield just a little ahead of Delaney's pass there. Man, he had a nice line. If he would have been right on the money there, that probably would have been a try for Texas. But just a little bit ahead, and he knows it. He had all kinds of space in front of it. He's beating himself up over there in the back of the Texas backfield.
And with there being 30 players on the field, we always mention how hard it is to stay onside in soccer when it's 11 on 11, well, 10 on 10 if you take out the goalies. But in rugby, it's got to be a lot harder to, because you've got so many players out there. You have to. That's the thing that so many coaches complain about is trying to stay onside.
One of the good things, especially here with a very good referee like Scott Green and two very good ARs in Alex Free and Wendy Young, you've got referees talking to you all the time, letting you know where the offsides are, and so you've got that in your ears. So you really don't have a excuse for being offsides here. If you get dinged for being offsides, it's your fault.
Houston comes away with the scrum. This is Gaffney, number 10. Gaffney, unfortunately, will hit the grass. And the Horns will come away with possession. Final 2.5 minutes of the opening half, dominated by Texas. They lead at 26-0. Houston just not really able to get much going so far. I've had only one real scoring opportunity. There's a great pass right in front of us.
Ross McDonald showing some skills there.
Yeah, and McDonald, who has one of the successful tries with a great dump pass. Houston, though, a great job on defense to make the tackle. That was one of those that looked like when it was thrown, it had an opportunity to maybe be another long try. Under 2 minutes remaining here in the opening half. Texas would love to get one more try on the board before recess.
And Wakefield, here's that loping stride I told you about.
And there it runs by one, by another. Well, Texas wanted one more try before halftime, and they've gotten that try. And another one of these big plays. That will further increase the score, as that's number 11, Sweeney, I believe. Sweeney with the last two. Check that, that's Wakefield, my apologies. Again, it's a little hard to read the Texas jerseys, but now 5 tries by 5 different players.
And here's Wakefield cutting through the defense, and just all he's got out there is Blanco, and Blanco's not going to catch him. One of the things that you may not have seen on that replay, though, Delaney set that up with a nice little, very patient pass, waited to the last second, put it in Wakefield's hands right as the defense had set on Delaney. Delaney took the hit from 2 defenders, which gave Wakefield all the room in the world to just skirt through the defense and make it into the end goal. Really great work there by the Longhorns to set that up.
Conversion kick is good. Longhorns have only missed 1 conversion kick so far. That'll make it 33-0 in the final seconds of the opening half. Again, a little hard to see the jerseys, wanting to give Sweeney a second try, but it's always good to spread around. Wakefield from London, England, and something I didn't know was that you can actually, I don't want to give any plug anyone, but you can actually get flights from Austin to London, so his family, if he wants to see him play, you don't have to go through 12 airports. You get 1 direct flight into Austin.
Yep.
Well, this match, or game, depending on how you want to call it, really has gone, unfortunately, the way that you'd mentioned at the start, where Texas battling for the conference title, Houston kind of in rebuild mode, and Texas has dominated 33-0.
Well, that second try really got Texas to get some confidence. You could see their confidence growing. Robert Hughes here is definitely having a day.
Running right by again. And that, I believe, is Delaney.
Hughes with his second try of the day.
Take that, Hughes. You've got better vision than I do.
Well, fortunately, I've called these guys before, so I just have, I don't really have better vision. I just happen to have the opportunity to have the benefit of having called them before and seen these guys.
At this point, Texas is scoring so fast. We're trying to get different players mentioned, as again another long play, and looking like Barry Sanders out there.
Well, Hughes is doing exactly what, and it's good that you mentioned Barry Sanders there. One of the things that set Barry apart in the NFL, one thing he did that was much different than a lot of running backs, is that Barry ran to space almost every time. And one of the things about him that made him so silky, so hard to take down, was his ability to run right at that space just around his defenders, Not, yeah, and he was, and that's what Hughes did right there. He's running at that space to the right or left of his defenders, and just making them miss a little bit to where all they're trying to do is tackling them with their arms, not really with their body.
Conversion opportunity for Wakefield is no good. 39-0. And that will do it for the first half, and Texas getting those 2 late scores. Up 39-0, I believe 6 tries by 5 different players. We'll count them up, total them up. We've reached halftime. It's Texas 39 and Houston 0. We'll have our halftime activities coming up in a moment here on the 11 Sports Network.
It's 38.
38, yeah. It's halftime. It's all Texas 38-0 as they were scoring so fast. We had to double check all the scoring. A couple of successful tries by Robert Hughes. It's been all Longhorns so far. Well, it's just a couple months away, the 2018 Winter Olympics over in Asia. You'll see the Olympics and the Paralympics. And when you watch the Paralympics, keep an eye on the USA Paralympic hockey team and Jake Wallace. He has a great story. Check it out.
Hockey is Jack Wallace's first love. The New Jersey native's passion for the game is as obvious as his natural talent. But when he was just 10 years old, Wallace's path in the sport and journey in life were significantly altered. During a family vacation on Lake George, Wallace was involved in a boating accident. He lost most of his right leg.
When I got hurt, obviously there's so many things going through your head, but one of the only things I really wanted to do was keep playing hockey.
The road to getting back on the ice was not an easy one. Wallace spent nearly 2 months in the hospital, undergoing several operations. However, through the entire process, Wallace has somehow managed to keep everything in perspective.
Obviously, losing a leg is difficult, traumatic, and you gotta pretty much relearn how to do everything in your life, but the opportunities that it's actually opened up for me, you never know. And it's really just about, dealing with what you got and making the best of it.
Wallace has done just that. He discovered sled hockey and has become one of the best players in the country. In 2014, he made the U.S. National Development Sled Hockey Team, which led Wallace to playing in the World Championships. However, he is anything but an overnight success. It came after months and months of hard work and dedication to a sport that was part of him, yet wasn't the same as before.
The biggest difference is really your arms are your legs and your arms are your arms. So you have to skate with your arms. and stick handle and shoot the puck with your arms.
The grueling grind paid off. Wallace earned a spot on the U.S. team that will compete in the 2018 Paralympic Games in South Korea.
It's one of the greatest feelings you can ever have, just to be able to put on those letters and represent at such a high level, you know. There really isn't anything like it.
Wallace, who can play both forward and defense, is 19 years old, making him one of the youngest players on a veteran-rich and talent-laden team. But when it comes to playing sled hockey for Team USA, nobody brings up age, nor the type of disability a person has.
We just think of ourselves, all the guys that play, you know, as just athletes. You know, everyone has their own struggles, everyone goes through their own issues, and it's just about how you get through it.
Wallace is mature beyond his years and an inspiration to others. When approached by parents who have kids dealing with hardships of their own, Wallace is more than happy to offer support.
That's always a really humbling moment when, you know, when you get to affect someone else's life in a positive way. You know, that's always an amazing feeling.
The feeling when Wallace takes the ice in the Paralympics will be something few people ever experience. And he'll just have one thing in mind when Team USA takes on the world.
Just to win the gold in itself, you know, that's just, it's such an unfathomable thing to think that you can be a part of.
And again, keep your eyes on Jake Wallace during the Paralympics coming up this winter. He's going to be one of the guys to keep an eye on. Well, there's so many guys to keep an eye on here at Texas as Houston has just struggled to keep an eye on them. 38-0, the Longhorns with the lead. Back with more halftime activities in a moment. This is College Rugby on the 11 Sports Network. Back here at Austin Huns Field in Austin, Texas, the Texas Longhorns have had their way so far. 38-0, just about ready to start the second half. I'm Greg Sherman, joined by Grant Cole. 6 successful tries by 5 different Longhorns, Robert Hughes with 2. And really, sometimes the score is misleading in a game, but certainly, Grant, not in this case.
No, not in this case. Texas has definitely played to their game plan, kept their structure. They're getting the ball out into the back line. They're using both their midfield and their wings and fullback to equally, and that's exactly what they wanted to do. Their forwards are seeming to have a kind of an easy time, but their forwards have got into it too, but only on the short ball. So it's really kind of a game plan that they want to use, and it's gonna keep them from being tired out. And here in the second half, it's something that's going to be way to their advantage, and we might even see them run away with this.
Again, Longhorns have had 5 different players with tries. Hughes has 2. Wang, McDonald, Sweeney, and Wakefield each have a successful try, and Wakefield is, I believe, 4 out of 6 on the conversion opportunities. Again, in rugby, it's 5 points for a try, 2 points for a conversion, so you get an opportunity for up to 7 points like you would have in football outside of the 2-point conversion. Again, Houston just trying to kind of work through what was a difficult season last year. They are 0-2 this year, lost to LSU and had to forfeit against TCU. Texas is 1-1. They beat TCU in a blowout, but they were blown out by Texas A&M, and I'm certain when Texas and A&M get back together, Longhorns would love to have the second half or get that victory.
I tell you what, one thing I've seen, Texas can't let up on Houston because both Matt Terres and Enrique Montano have threatened a couple of times against Texas when they had ball in hand. And if Texas just lets up even an ounce, those 2 players can make it happen and make sure. So right there, Enrique Montoya with a little kick over. He sees some space. He's got some speed on the outside. He's going to try and see if Wakefield's going to be able to maintain possession, and Wakefield wasn't. He knocked the ball on, and now Houston's got a scrum 5 meters out. This is great attacking position for Houston.
Absolutely, and if you're Houston at this point, you just want to try to continue to attack, maybe not necessarily worry about the scoreboard because you're trying to grow and see if you can't win this half or maybe at least win a 10-minute segment, get some tries on the board, and continue to grow. As Houston, it took them really about 25 minutes of the first half to even threaten to score, and it took them only the opening minute and a half to at least threaten to score, although they are still being shut out. There's Scott Green, the referee, getting the scrum ready. And here comes the substitution in for Texas. It's going to be number 18, Singh. He'll come in. And we'll double check the player that is going to be coming out. Again, I believe you get 8 substitutions in the game. The substituted player actually coming right in front of us. And it's going to be number 7, that is Rizvi. He will be subbed out.
So Van Steenkis there coming out for some blood he's got on his face, and it's Kornek coming on.
Apologies, it is Kornek, number 18, my apologies. And Van Steenkist, V-A-N-S-T-E-E-N-K-I-S-T-E. As Houston again trying to get their first try of the game. Kyle close to the goal line, but not quite. Actually,
Houston threatening here, and interesting. Looks like Scott Green's going to his pocket for a second. And definitely going to his pocket. Giving a yellow card to William Wang for playing the ball on the ground. Wang killing the ball right there in front of the goal line and not allowing the potential try to be scored. And that's going to be 10 minutes down for the Longhorns. They're going to be playing with 13 men.
Houston again trying to get on the board. Again, Texas now down a man.
And this looks like they're going to be down 2 men there because they're calling the captain over. And he's not real happy. He's also, there's Marco Marine he's calling over. And he's giving a red card to Marco Marine.
And that's going to be, well, this game is just kind of changed rather in the last few minutes, as Texas now down 2 players, and you never know what can happen when you pick up when you have a 2-player advantage.
Red card to Marine for leading with his shoulder into the tackle. And that's try.
And there's the first try of the game for Houston, and they are on the scoreboard. That's Blanco, I believe, who has the first try of the game for Houston. And I can safely tell you this much, that with a 2-player advantage, this big lead can very quickly go away. Let's take a look at the replay as Houston coming out inspired here in the opening minutes of the second half.
And Abe Blanco, man, the grand old man there of the Cougars. He's a grad student there in his 5th year of eligibility. Definitely relishing that moment to take it over the line for his team and get a score on the board.
And Montano with an opportunity now for the first conversion of the game. Again, Texas playing down 2 players.
Be down 2 players for at least 10 minutes, and
kick is good. Well, the scoreboard says 38-7, and you may think, well, 38-7, not much drama left, but with Texas now down 2 players, Grant, this could get interesting. We saw this in college basketball a couple of days ago, where Alabama playing 3-on-5 against Minnesota almost came all the way back to win.
So what's really going to be interesting here is Texas is down 2 front row players right now.
Big.
So when the next scrum comes up, they're going to have to bring 2 front row players off and decide who on the field is going to come off in their stead, because they can't play without the front row.
Texas again will kick off, having given up their first score, or giving up their first try of the match. Angus McClellan is wearing a blank jersey. He does not have a number on his jersey. Houston certainly coming out with a lot of fight. Houston trying to at least win the second half, get some confidence heading into their next game. Fortunately for Texas, they had all the scoring early. Houston really only had 1 threat to score. And once again, the forward pass is illegal in rugby. That's the big thing to keep in mind. That's why you're going to see the ball kicked and run a lot. A tackle on the far side. That might be McClellan with the blank jersey. Texas trying to get the try back. And heading into the scoring zone and in for the try. So Texas gives up a try, the first try of the game, and they finally get it back, and that's Wakefield again.
Core and Wakefield, you know, you talk about there being no forward pass in rugby, but one of the things Wakefield did to set this up is he kicked the ball forward, which is as good as a forward pass in rugby because you can kick it forward and your man can pick up the ball, which is what Grant Guthrie did out there. Picks up the ball, runs it forward, sets it up so that Wakefield can get this ball, which you're going to see on the replay here. And he takes the ball here.
And Texas has had so many of these long scoring plays today, not necessarily here, but still a mid-level, where they've got the speed. That speed has really been killing the Cougars this afternoon.
And they definitely, and with Guthrie, Sweeney, and Wakefield, they've got a lot of speed out there, and they're doing some damage. Sweeney with a really good foot on him right now, especially putting one down nearly in front of the goal. He's got the sticks up, another conversion, 45-7 for the Longhorns. Pretty good to be able to be 2 men down and put a score on the board.
Oh, absolutely. Mentioned just a moment ago about Alabama and Minnesota. Alabama was trailing in a college basketball game with Minnesota, one of the Thanksgiving tournaments, and Alabama nearly came all the way back to win. Now, in this case, Texas, even though they're down 2 men, one for the rest of the game, one temporarily, still with a big lead. They at least have the cushion of a big lead. Camera guys doing a great job. Danny Torres, Paul Ernest, Tony Garcia, and Thad Usling. Ball back in play, and again, Texas with the play as Koronek had the ball temporarily. Number 4 also hit the deck. That was Mitchell Sermons. That is McClellan. McClellan wearing the blank jersey. He's got the easiest jersey to read because there's no number on it.
McClellan getting 20 meters out of that possession there, but he loses it in the breakdown.
Replays Ralph Cantu. Our EVS guy Matthew Moneyhan. Graphics Darwin Morrow. Van Purdue in control of our audio and engineering. Utility Tommy Garcia. And our director Joseph Guerrero. Executive producer is Steve Hurlbutt. Research statistician Juliet Ubu. And of course Grant Cole, our esteemed colleague, doing the analyst work and always doing a great job. Here's Texas again down the far sidelines. This cutting inside. Houston trying to find a way to bring him down. But can't tell if he got in or if he's close.
That is a try for Texas.
That's a try. Double check the number.
Here's the replay on it here.
And it comes right out of the scrum.
And that's Vanderwalt gets the ball taken away from him. And that is just a very, very good return. By Texas's, by Texas number 12, and
Mike Jones.
That's Mike Jones finally getting a hand on the ball today. He's been supporting Robert Hughes all day and just making space for Hughes to run through all day, and he finally gets the ball himself and takes a 60-meter run back the other way.
Here's the conversion kick, a long one, but that one is no good, so our score will stay 50-7. So Houston came out of the locker room with at least some fight in them, getting a try and getting some possessions, but Texas getting the last couple of tries, and it looks like they are now firmly in control of this afternoon's contest.
Houston making some changes to their lineup right now, bringing Oliver Young and Alex Ty on for Julian Perez, and I believe it's looks like it's Giassi.
Giassi who's wearing number 11 this afternoon.
Yeah, Giassi's coming off.
Texas looking to get to 2-1 on the young season. Houston in danger of dropping to 0-3. Houston with the drop kickoff back to Texas. It's Nicholas Mears, number 5. Haven't called his name yet this afternoon. run around the ball a little bit earlier.
What's interesting to me, Greg, and this is almost never happens, is since the cards have been given out to the 2 front row players for Texas, there's been no scrums. So that's almost amazing.
The penalty time for Wang is nearly up. Again, it's a 10-minute penalty for a yellow card. Marin has been red carded. He was booked for I believe delay, if I'm not mistaken, delay with the ball. So he was booked. Wang was also booked, but his booking was only a yellow.
Sweeney out there creating havoc again for the Longhorns out wide.
We've through 53 minutes of the contest. Texas led 38-zip at halftime. They lead it 50-7. Normally I'd say it's a scrum for the ball, but of course in rugby, scrum meaning is a specific term.
Now here's something that's, you know, you've got a team that's 2 men down and the team that's 2 men up.
Well, here comes Wang back, so Texas now has 14 now on the field. And what's interesting is when we saw in the right after the bookings, Houston was able to score, but then right after that Texas took over, and Texas, instead of playing like they were down 2 men, looked like they were up by 2 men. Ball goes on the far side touch, a.k.a. out of bounds.
Yeah, Wakefield with a beautiful spiral touch finder there. Looks like he was passing it off of John Elway's hands.
Anytime you invoke the words John Elway, doesn't matter what the sport is, that means that guy's pretty good. Texas getting ready for the restart on the line-out. What's the key to a really successful line-out where you can get the ball?
Well, you want a really successful line-outs. First the throw, second the lift and the jump. If you can get that throw good, I mean, and that's really your timing.
Here comes Lucas. I don't mean to cut you off. Lucas Hendricks with a great flip to one of his teammates.
It was a little bit
forward. But it looked like it was offsides. Hendricks wearing the headgear, and Hendricks has the hair that you and I are probably very jealous of right now.
I'm not jealous of that hair. I've got plenty of beautiful hair. No, Hendricks' pass was a little bit forward. You know, and one of the things there you asked about is really you think about a timing pass on a passing pattern. You know, 3-step drop and timing. That's all it is in a line out. It's a timing pass, and if you get your timing down really good, everything's a dart.
Now, I noticed that in each of the lineouts, you'll see one of the players being held up, kind of like.
So he jumps and then he's lifted basically. I don't see anybody. Well, I only see Mears that has the lifting blocks on his legs. So he's the only one I think that actually has lifting blocks. So, and that's the blocks that you see right above the kneecaps. They're little pieces of foam that are taped onto his legs, so you can get the thumbs under there and actually help propel him up.
And here comes Shah Yala coming in, number 17. He will come in for Texas.
So yeah, what Pratik Shah is doing is he's coming on for Ross McDonald. So the deal is with red card player out, the red carded player Walters was a front row player. So they've got to replace him with a front row player once they go to scrum. And McDonald was brought off. McDonald's had a good game. He's been solid out there, and they can give him a rest and give Shariala a break.
And he spells his name Sharyala. Texas comes away with kind of the interception on the backwards pass.
Kornack has been a pain in Houston's side ever since he stepped on the field.
Houston hoping this year just to find their way into the middle of the pack in the Red River Rugby Collegiate Conference. Unfortunately, though, it looks like unless they're able to make a wild comeback, they'll drop to 0-3. But still a young season with a young team.
They're in a very tough conference to make it to the middle.
Oh yeah, this is a conference that both coaches said this is basically like the Big 12 of rugby, where you have a lot of strong teams at the top, and it's very hard to sometimes fight to the top. Here comes McClellan again with the blank jersey. Gets by Cougar by another, and he is into the scoring zone. He's got to put the ball down, though, and he did. So McClellan with the try, and that is the 9th try of the afternoon for Texas. That'll make it 55-7. And again, these are long plays, as we'll take a look at the replay and see how that play developed.
And you see just McClellan's making it into contact, and he's doing what we call winning the contact points. If you see there, he's breaking right to the side of the tackle, breaking right to the side of the tackle there, fending off well. He's got the ball in the outside hand, and that's really key to maintaining that possession, so he can use the inside hand to fend off the attacker. All of that's very good, very solid technical work when it comes to carrying the ball.
That's the old yak yardage, yards after contact.
That's right. Solid work by McClellan there. He's what you want in an impact player you're bringing on as a substitute second half. He's doing all the basic things right.
Kick is up and good. It's 2 more points for Texas. They get 7 more total.
So Mike Jones coming off.
That makes our score 57-7, I believe, if I've got my math correct.
It looks like Louis Bourgeon's coming on. You know, Louis Bourgeon makes a great croque monsieur, which is a crunchy French sandwich.
Did he bring any samples, though?
I don't know. We're going to have to check with that.
We're going to have some. Put it on a little baguette, and certainly would feel good. Texas feeling good. Texas really in complete control outside of maybe the first 90 seconds to 2 minutes of half number 2, when Houston was able to at least break up the shutout. But Houston's still out there fighting. That's something you'd love to see. And I know Jesse Dominguez, with some new faces, with having to rebuild the program, so to speak, that he's trying to keep his young team from getting down, and they're still out there fighting.
Yeah, and that's definitely what you got to do. You got to, one of the things you hear coaches talking about a lot is you talk about winning. But maybe you're not talking about winning the game. Maybe you're talking about the things that you need to win, that you know you can win. And it may be the scrum, it may be the lineouts, it may be, whatever it may be. You talk about the things you can win and you work on those. And that's the thing you got to do to keep your mental spirits up. That's what you do.
Coming up on minute number 60, 3/4 of the way through our game, Texas scoring early and often. Ball is kicked. Longhorns field it cleanly. There's another opportunity for Texas. They've got the speed. Great. A flip, nearly a forward one, but that was a lateral, or that was right on the line. So, actually, I think.
So AR Wendy Young said that was forward, that did go forward out of Wakefield's hands, and it did. It looked that way to me. And so we're going to have another scrum here to Houston. Montano with a nice little grubber through there. Smart move. It's just he's not announcing it to his speedsters fast enough, so they don't know to go with it when he gets that grubber through.
And what, for those maybe that are not familiar, what is a grubber?
A grubber is when you kick it along the ground like that. So again, the only way you advance the ball forward is to run it forward or kick it forward in this game.
So it's kind of like dribbling in soccer.
Exactly.
Texas up 57-7. They've had 9 tries scored by 7 different players this afternoon. Wakefield has 2 tries along with doing all the kicking after the tries. Hughes has 2 tries as well. Wang also has a try along with McDonald, Sweeney, Jones, and McClellan.
Yeah, Wakefield's had a pretty good boot today. Out of the 9 conversion attempts, he's only missed 3, and each of those 3 from the touchline. So,
what's a good percentage for? I know 100% is what you want, but what would be a what do you want?
70%, which is what he's at right now, is pretty dang good. So, I'd be impressed. I'd be happy with that.
Blanco with the only touch so far for Houston. Here's Hendricks. Hendricks wearing the headgear, breaks 1 tackle and gets thrown down on the touch by Montano. So the ball goes on the touch, aka out of bounds, so we'll have a line out. This would be our first line out of the day right in front of us, so you'll get to see a great view of exactly the dynamics of how a line-out works. As number 1, Blanco, the only try scorer for the day for Houston, will send it in.
Abe Blanco's a great guy, and I mean, you ever get around him, ask him to sing for you. He's got a beautiful voice.
There's the hold-up. Line-out was taken away by Texas. What kind of singing does he do?
He's just got a brilliant voice. He grew up playing in choir, and that's going to be a dangerous tackle there by McClellan on Vanderwalt. He had his arm around his neck.
Vanderwalt comes away with the ball, and here's Houston trying to get their second touch of the game. Texas has only 14 out there. They're a man down to another because one player was booked with a red card, but Texas feels like it looks like they've been playing with about 30 players out there this afternoon.
I'll tell you what, the next few practices for Texas, you're going to hear Zach Mizell talk about tackling low all the time, because one thing he wanted to happen in this game was lower tackles, and they've been penalized and carded for high tackling several times, and that is not something Mizell appreciates.
Montoya gets tackled right in front of us. Scott Green will blow his whistle.
Hendricks had got in there and used his hands in the ruck, and that was the reason that penalty was called.
Ball flipped over to Matt Torres, number 8 for Houston. Torres trying to battle his way to the line. Again, Houston's still out there trying, even though they are not going to come out with victory this afternoon. We'll see if Houston can get some stuff going here in the final 16 minutes. Pushing for the line.
I tell you, Vanderwalt has been very busy for Houston in the second half.
And Houston still threatening. Torres, number 8, had possession of the ball temporarily. Now this is Rizvi, number 7. They're so close to the line. Scott Green, though, says no try yet. Texas trying to play what we would call the goal line defense as Gaffney, number 10, had the ball. Now number 6, Scherber. And Houston not able to score. That's some great, I guess you would call it some great goal line defense there by the Horns.
Great defense and great counter-rucking. Scherber just didn't take care of the ball there, and he didn't have any support when he went into that tackle. So nobody was there to pick up the ball when he released it except for Texas players. And that was that. Now Quinlan Sweeney's running it down the side, and it's been dangerous all day for Houston. So Texas ball again.
This just shows you how strong Texas is. Again, they're playing a man down. They've played pretty much the entire second half with a man down, and they were 2 men down at one point in this half. As Caballero, playing in his last match, hands it off to a teammate. Nothing but green grass, and another successful try for Texas.
David Liu, been on about 3 minutes, runs it in. He gives the ball over to, I believe that is Stavros Tonitis, and so Tonitis can actually touch it down.
And Tonitis says good night to Houston. And that shows you kind of the thing in rugby where in football you would have to lateral before you get to the goal line, but in this case, if you have possession of the ball, you can stand there and wait for anybody you want. And Lou just came on as a sub a little while ago, as you mentioned, just with a great play, and Houston just not able to find him. And then Lou just saying, okay, do I want to score? Do I want to hand it off to a teammate and let him have the try?
Well, one of the things you love about rugby is, as you see here, these guys stayed in support of their teammate all the way to the goal line. Support's what's important. It's one of the things that's made Texas successful all day long, and that's what you do. You reward your teammate with the benefit of that support. Let them get the try since they've been doing the work all day.
And the conversion is good, 64-7. But the only thing we haven't seen Texas have today as substitution coming out, that's Robert Hughes, who has scored a couple of tries today. We have not seen Caballero playing in his last game. We've not seen him score. We'll see if he can. Did not get the number of who came on, but I know.
But Caballero set that up. So Caballero's run down there, he basically made the he made Ulloa, his old teammate, key on to him, and once Ulloa keyed on to him, he knew what Ulloa was going to do. He was going to make it. He was going to tackle him. He fed the ball off to Lou, and David Lou ran it on in.
Luke Phillips, number 17, getting ready to check in for Houston. He will not check in quite yet. So again, a chance for Texas to get, and for Houston to get some of the other players into this afternoon's game.
And Kevin Heaton's warming up for Texas over here as well.
And Stavros Tanidis with the last touch. That's touch number 10 of the game. Here comes Phillips, number 17 on. He'll come in for the final 12 minutes of today's game, and
Ulloa.
coming out will be number 15, Ulloa. Again, Houston's trying like crazy to score, and they've been trying the entire game, but Texas, even with a player down, seems like they're about 20 players up. There's the kickoff fielded by Marin. By the way, it was Walters who was red carded, not Marin. My apologies on.
And you gotta say, Texas is playing a very patient game now that they're a man down, and that's a very important strategy to do. And if you're a good coach, and Zach Mizell is, you're teaching your players how to play that man down play and that patient play. Look at that.
And a great dump off. This will be another try. This is Delaney. Does not have one today. He does now. And really what we're seeing is even with Texas being a man down, they've got so much speed. Houston still has not really been able to catch up with that speed this afternoon.
Well, and Texas is playing with a lot of confidence. They see that their support games playing. I mean, if you look here, Delaney deserves this. All the work he's done today at fly half. He gets in support here of Tanidis. Tanidis feeds it out to him. Tanidis doesn't need another try to score. He knows that. Delaney's been doing all the work. Let Delaney go in and get a little bit of glory. Great work. Delaney deserved that. He was in support just like he should have been, and that's exactly what he deserves.
And I believe this may be a different kicker coming on for the conversion. And it's good.
Yeah, that's Tanidis.
Yeah, it is
kick.
Tanidis. Stavros Tanidis. So it's 71-7. Texas will go to 2-1 on the season. Houston will drop to 0-3. Really have to be impressed by what Texas has done, not just the scoring, but that they've done a lot, pretty much all this in the second half, down at 1.2 players, and right now still down 1.
Tanidis out of the Woodlands area, his support plays no surprise to me. He's a Phil Beck product out of there. Phil Beck is old London Wasp player, and I mean if he teaches anything at the Woodland, he teaches support as a coach. And you know, Woodlands won that state championship last year, and that was Phil's last year as a coach there, and that's just signature. What you see out of Tanidis is signature Phil Beck coaching.
The Woodland's so strong in so many high school sports. I see them all the time. You see them in softball, see them in cross country, football. Got upset in the first round of the high school football playoffs, but they went to the state finals last year. So you talk about the Woodlands. That's a school that kind of gets underrated or under talked about because of Katy.
Katie's got some pretty good rugby programs out there as well.
Is there anything Katy is not good at?
Well,
it may be easier to talk about what they're not good at versus what they are, because Katy.
I don't think they have an ice hockey program out there yet.
Well, hey, Houston didn't Houston once upon a time have one in the old?
They had the Arrows, and there's several ice hockey teams in town.
San Antonio has a minor league hockey team. Of course, Dallas has the NHL team.
But the Katy Barbarians and the West Houston Lions are some. They're some very, very good teams coming out when it comes to youth rugby and rugby in general.
Rugby, we hear about the football numbers declining because of concussions. Is that maybe kind of sent some players over to rugby? Has rugby's numbers gone up, or have they kind of gone down because of the concussions?
Rugby's numbers, I think, have gone up for number of different reasons, and some of those reasons may have to do with the concussion issue, but I really don't think that's it. I think it has to do with rugby being in the Olympics for one, and that's just one thing. But the other thing is there's just a lot of kids out there, and they're looking for something to do, and sports is oversaturated. You know, you look at Katy High School. That football program requires 450 kids to run, and that school's got 5,000 kids in it. So, you know, you've got a flux of kids there. They want to do something else, and not all of them want to play football or basketball or some other sport. So they're looking for other stuff, and rugby's a perfect fit for them.
Yeah, you can only have 11 play at a time, and in football, Gary Joseph does a great job over there. They went to the state finals 4 straight years in football from 12 through 15. Set up for the scrum here, just a handful of minutes remaining.
Eddie Caballero thinking that Scott Green is not looking at him there. He comes in from all sides to grab the ball, but no, Green was.
It's his last game. What are they going to do if it's his last game? He's getting ready to graduate.
I think he's wanting a try out of the day, and
again, we'll have our man of the match coming up in just a little while as Torres flips it a little late to Phillips. Phillips trying to get a try, but he's going to be stopped short.
And Phillips was way ahead of.
Yeah, it kind of looked like it.
Yeah, way ahead of Torres, and that was really his fault, not Torres' fault. And Torres did a really good job to pass that out of contact, but if Phillips would have been on his hip instead of out wide, he could have scored a try out of that easily.
We're trying to figure out who our man of the match will be. You have Wakefield with 2 tries and all the conversions. The only other player with multiple tries is Robert Hughes.
I think Wakefield and Hughes have been a pain in the Cougars' side all day long. I really love how they play today, both of them. Think that Wakefield's boot has been right on, but I really think Hughes has been the table turner for the day, because every time he got the ball, it looked like Houston panicked because they didn't know whether he was going to run it through their gain line or whether he was going to move it out wide and strike that way. So they really kind of panic, and we're trying to do something really fast to stop them up. So.
And this match kind of changed right after halftime. It was 38-0. Normally when you're up 38-0, you feel like that lead is going to be safe, but they went down. Texas did a couple of players, one for a yellow, one for a red. Houston got a score, and it looked like maybe Houston was going to find a way to come back with a miracle comeback, as Singh, number 18, getting ready to check in for Houston. But then Texas getting those long try runs, and that ended up kind of ending any hopes that Houston would have a miracle comeback. So here comes Singh.
Harbhajan Singh is a part-time chef out of Houston, Texas. You know
what is this with everybody cooking?
And I talked to him. He's not lying. He is a real chef. He's got actual training and everything.
Austin Puckett, number 13, checked out for Houston. I love it how we have players on both sides that cook, but nobody brought anything. That'd be like going to watch Emeril Lagasse cook, and instead he just starts singing tenor or something. But again, these all young men doing a great job. Corin Wakefield standing right next to us. Subbed out. Wakefield talking to his mom again from London. As he mentioned, you can actually get a direct flight from London to Austin.
You know what Wakefield's claim to fame is, right?
Yeah, he's from London, and he's been having a great game today.
He's got a Honda Accord that has suicide doors. Yeah, stick that in your craw and chew on it a little bit.
I don't know what's amazing, the fact that he has a car with suicide doors, or that he has somebody willing to admit that they have a Honda. Nah, but this has been fun. I know the score maybe doesn't really show it 71-7 with just a few minutes left, but this has been really fun because you see so much strategy with 30 players, well, 29 a lot in the second half. There's so many moving parts, so many moving pieces, and they're trying to figure things out. And I mean, Texas has just shown why they're going to contend again for the conference championship. And after losing to Texas A&M, which whenever anybody from Texas loses to A&M, that motivates you a little bit. And certainly, unfortunately for Houston, Texas came in with that extra motivation.
Yeah, well, I'm a former A&M coach, so I have a different take on that one.
Hey, I went to Oklahoma, so nobody likes an OU. But hey, I wish we could see more of Texas and Texas A&M playing each other with the old Lone Star Showdown scrum.
One of the things I see in rugby, I'll tell you this, is when Texas and Oklahoma, when their rugby programs are playing better, the whole of the state is playing better rugby. So that's a very important thing. Oh, nice little move there by Tinnitus. Right.
Flip by Wang. Wang is playing with a yellow card. Hendricks coming up, but we're going to get a whistle and a stoppage of play here with just a couple of minutes remaining in the contest.
David Liu, nice little pass there, but he had it forward, and that was Alex Free was right on top of that and could see that clearly that it was forward. That's one of the things when you've got some very good ARs out there that know what they're about. They don't miss much.
Plus, that's kind of the problem when you have speed, where Texas has all that speed. You want to flip it to the guy that's open, but you got to make sure that you time it correctly.
Yep.
So here comes the scrum, the final couple minutes of the game. And Texas not really ever in trouble in this one. Houston still growing, rebuilding their program. We know that they will continue to grow. Jesse Dominguez will do a great job for Houston. We know they're going to be back up contending for the conference championship real soon. Houston comes out of the scrum. A great move by Montana. My man with the great-looking hair. There's nobody out there with bad-looking hair. It's kind of weird. Everybody has great-looking hair, and
I don't know. Joe Jankhouse probably has to. He probably needed some work on his hair, and nobody's really happy about Scott Green's short hair now. We really liked it when he had the do up and was using his pobod.
Here comes Houston trying to get that precious try. Tackled short though. Torres not quite to the line. Texas with a goal line stand earlier in the half. Flip to Scherber, number 6. Texas looking for maybe one more goal line stand to keep Houston at least in single figures. Ball is loose, picked back up by the Cougars. Gaffney, number 10, trying to find his way to the line. Cannot. We're into the final scheduled minute of the contest. Houston, though, still threatening to try to get at least one more score on the board. Rizvi, number 7, not able to get to the line. It feels like the line's half a mile away, even though it's so close. Lane Myers, number 4, haven't called his name much this afternoon. Get a chance to get his name on. Not able to score. And there's Montana in. And there you go. Houston have been trying. So Montana, we're in the final seconds of the match, able to score, and that will at least get Houston one more score, one more try in today's contest.
Yeah, and Enrique Montoya, here on the replay, you'll see that he just trucks Lucas Hendricks. Gets the ball out. Vanderwalt definitely knows this man.
Yeah, at some point, you have all the passing and laterals. At some point, with some of the frustration Houston's gone through today, it's almost like just run the guy over. Just be like the fullback.
A 250-pound Montano and a 175-pound Hendricks. You know, there's a big difference there. So something wasn't going to match up.
So that'll make it 71-12. Gaffney back on for the conversion opportunity. It's a cosmetic score, but at least Houston's going to feel a little bit better. Houston with the first try of the half and the last try of the half, but just could not get enough tries with the power play, so to speak. The kick is not going to be close. Kind of been that way for Houston most of the afternoon. And that will do it for this afternoon's match. Houston just not able to keep up with Texas's speed. 71-12 the final score, and certainly a game where Texas early on used the finesse to build a lead, and then in the second half just turned on the speed.
Yeah, that's correct, Greg. Just they played to their systems. They brought their speed on, brought a little bit of extra pace and fitness on, and then they were able to put it away.
Well, you got to figure out who the man of the match is for Texas. There's so many guys you can choose from. I guess maybe Wakefield would be the one that you would go with.
I like Wakefield, but I also like Hughes, and I got to say, I'm going to tell you, I think it was Hughes, and I'll tell you why. Hughes kept Houston honest. Every time he got the ball in hand, he was either going to break the line or pass it out at the last minute, and he kept them honest. They had to do a lot of work in order to, and they had to do a lot of work in order to contain him, and it just wasn't working in their way.
Grant Cole, this was fun. We ought to do this again sometime.
I think we're going to do it again in January.
Excellent. Excellent. Final score, Texas wins at 71-12 for everybody with the production director, Joseph Guerrero, and everybody in the truck and all of our cameramen. My name is Greg Sherman. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast and hope we get to catch you with a future broadcast of rugby here on the 11 Sports Network. 71-12, Texas wins. Until we talk to you next time, so long and good afternoon from Austin, Texas.